are, what we do, the opportunity that we see for publishers at this moment in audiobooks. And then just very briefly, kind of a couple ways to think about how you might get started if it's something that you think might make sense for your catalog. We'll also do a demo of some of the voices using our latest models. So for background, ElevenLabs is a research-first AI company. So this means we make all of our own models in-house with a team of world-class researchers who develop models across text-to-speech, speech-to-text, sound effects, music, anything that touches AI audio. This is the forefront of innovation in that space. And so we build these frontier speech and audio and music models, and then we deliver them across a number of real-world industry applications. So interestingly, audiobooks were our very first use case. So when the text-to-speech platform first came out back in 2022, independent authors flocked to the platform because for the first time, audiobooks were being made accessible to them. They had historically oftentimes been blocked out of the format. And so as we've gone deeper into this vertical and scaled as a company, we continue to invest heavily in the publishing industry. I'm working with larger publishers now, as well as authors, and continuing to build products specifically for publishers, authors, agents, consumers, anyone who touches the audiobook space. And so it's one that we're very excited about. So I think the most important question for this group, obviously, is what does AI audio actually sound like today? Because, of course, there's lots of preconceived notions around it sounding quite robotic and being, like, quite frankly, a terrible consumer experience. And so there's been a lot of innovation in the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years of a real inflection point as this space has really changed and as research has moved quite quickly. So I want to play a demo here because I think one of the sort of key thresholds that really matters for publishing in order to make this, an interesting experience for consumers is really being able to approximate emotion and intonation, character voices, dialogue especially is really important. And so that's kind of what we're moving towards with our more recent models. And so I want to play, let's see if we have time for 2 demos, but I'll start with one in English. This is Burt Reynolds, if you know who that is, reading The Wizard of Oz. So we've worked with Burt Reynolds and we've licensed his voice. We do this with a number of celebrity voices. We also have Michael Caine, among others, who lend us their voice to create clones and to create content using that, and can talk a bit more about the voices in a bit. But this is the most recent iteration.
After climbing down from the China Wall, the travelers found themselves in a disagreeable country, full of bogs and marshes, and covered with tall, rank grass. It was difficult to walk without falling into muddy holes, for the grass was so thick that it hid them from sight. However, by carefully picking their way, they got safely along until they reached solid ground. But here the country seemed wilder than ever, and after a long and tiresome walk through the underbrush, they entered another forest, where the trees were bigger and older than any they had ever seen. "This forest is perfectly delightful," declared the lion, looking around him with joy. "Never have I seen a more beautiful place." "It seems gloomy," said the scarecrow. "Not a bit of it," answered the lion. "I should like to live here all my life. See how soft the dried leaves are under your feet, and how rich and green the moss is that clings to these old trees. Surely no wild beast could wish a pleasanter home." "Perhaps there are wild beasts in the forest now," said Dorothy.
Okay, so I'll leave it there. We won't do another demo, but if you're interested in hearing what the voices sound like in your language, at this point we have over 30 languages. The next iteration will have over 70 languages. Come talk to me and we can show you some demos. But a few other key things quickly just to note about these voices. The first is that everything that we do at ElevenLabs is fully licensed, and so we acquire data in a licensed, compliant way. That's something that we feel very strongly about as a company. And then the second piece is all of the individual voices that are in our voice library, whether they're iconic voices like Michael Caine or Burt Reynolds, or just the individual voices in the library, are clones of real people's voices who have given their consent to be cloned, and they earn every time that their voice is used. And so it's a new way to monetize your voice as a voice actor, and we've got tons of voice actors earning really significant incomes totally passively from their voice being used. So it's been an interesting new innovation in that market. So to take a quick step back and to talk about the business opportunity, I'll keep this very, very brief because obviously this is why we're all here. Obviously, audiobooks are driving growth across the publishing industry. Very soon will be, if not already, the dominant format, and one that will certainly not be an afterthought, and one that really unlocks access to new readers, to new consumers, to new people thinking about engaging with books and literature. And so we're really excited about that growth, and also aware that this growth curve that you see here is very unlikely to happen without innovation that's required outside of many of the key markets today, where there's just very large gaps between what exists in print and in ebook format and what exists in audio. And so, what does this mean for global publishers? I would say this is kind of our thesis on why we exist and what we're most excited about at a glance. There's a massive audiobook gap outside of English, outside of the Nordic markets, outside of German. And so in most languages and in most catalogs, very few books actually make it into audio. And so what we're trying to do and what we see here is really not to displace the existing audiobook market at all, but really to go after this kind of new greenfield opportunity where we're bringing new books to market that historically and structurally just was not possible for those catalogs to make it into audio. And so most of the new innovation and everything that leverages AI here will be what closes this gap and what brings new books into audio format and helps publishers and authors reach new readers, drive more revenue, and drive growth across their full catalogs. And so this is what we're really excited about. And I'll just end very quickly to talk about the ElevenLabs origin story very briefly. The co-founders, Mati and Piotr, are both Polish, and they grew up in Poland and experienced this very specific pain of watching a poorly dubbed Polish movie where it's just like one very monotone voice the entire time. And so they set out to create ElevenLabs with this idea to really make content universally accessible in any language and to leverage the power of AI to do that across dubbing, across audiobooks, anywhere where there's really opportunity to reach new consumers and make more content heard and available in local languages. And so that's what we're looking to do with publishers, and would love to talk to any of you here if it's something that you're interested about as well. And we'll end right here because I know I'm already over time. If you're thinking that this is something that might be interesting to you or might be worthwhile for your catalog, I think it can be daunting at first, and there's a couple ways to think about getting started. I think the first is just to try it. Like, go on ElevenLabs, you can make a clone of your own voice. It's kind of fun. And try producing even just a couple paragraphs of an audiobook and see what you think of the voices in your language. And then once you've done that and you think there might be, larger opportunity for more titles in your catalog, happy to talk about how we can help you get those produced really efficiently. And we also have a consumer audiobook app called Eleven Reader, where we can actually just take full catalogs of ebooks and stream them with audio at no upfront costs and with no exclusivity and high royalties too. So if any of those sound interesting, happy to talk about those and just generally see how you might think about expanding your audio catalog. So I'll leave it there. I know we're over time and it's a packed schedule, but thanks for having me here. I'll also be on a panel later today and around all afternoon if you have other questions or want to hear more demos. But thanks so much.